Hello everyone, welcome to the part 2 of the walkthrough for the game Othercide. So we're at the first mission. Now, you can't quit this mission, like you can't not do this mission and do something else. If you skip the tutorial, you can do something else. But if you didn't skip the tutorial, you can't just go back and not do this mission. The game would crash. Like, well, not really crash, but get stuck. So you can't do anything else. So you just have to basically do this mission. I was trying to quit the mission to see if I can do something else, but no, you can't do something else. You have to just do this mission, which is the starting mission. Now this mission is the same. There's no variations of this mission. Every time you start this game, it's always the same. However, the mission that you get in the following days may be different. Okay? So again, to start the mission, you press triangle because it doesn't allow you to press X too quickly. You know, for obvious reasons. You don't want to just be pressing X and accidentally make a mistake. Flanking behavior. While a unit is engaged in melee combat, attacking coming from flanks or the back will hurt more.
Suffering's ambition. How many more?
So you can see from the animation that you can do a backstab, almost like Dark Souls. Yeah, so I will explain that to you later. So this game has a very gloomy and dark atmosphere. It almost reminds me of Bloodborne, because of like the gothic horror and also like you can see there are statues of giants on the background as well. And also architecture, look at it. Just sort of reminds me of Bloodborne. And also the floating structure as well. It's like the place is falling apart. All these giant hands. It just looks very creepy. It's not scary. It's not really like scary horror, but it has that daunting and unsettling atmosphere. Almost like Bloodborne. It very much reminds me of Bloodborne. You can also see the Chosen One watching. Look, if you look at the back, you can see the child. So the Chosen One or the other is called the child. So it's like he's watching you. Sometimes you will able to see the child. You can see him in almost every map. Sort of he's just hiding around the corner. If you look at the map in more detail, you can also see the statue of giant hands as well as staircases that just leads to nowhere. So it's a very weird and daunting atmosphere. Okay, so we have 3 of our character. In hunt missions, we generally get to go first, so the enemy goes later. In other types of missions like rescue missions, we get to go later, the enemy gets to go first. So this is important, and also the positioning of your character is important. So when you select which character goes first, it is kind of important. In some maps, the spawning position can change depending on the situation. So even with the same map, you can spawn in slightly different locations. So it's a hunt mission. We can see at the top it says 4 enemies remaining. So the objective of a hunt mission is you need to defeat all the enemies on the map. Sometimes enemies will spawn in later. So we can see there's 3 enemies on the map already. So 1 enemies will spawn in later. If we go to the options, we have the choice of continue, option, or quit to menu. Alright? So just remember that. We can't escape from this mission. We have to do this mission. Now, sometimes you will fail at a mission. Just before you fail and die, it is possible to go to the menu and quit to the main menu and then restart from the saving file. The game says the progress is autosaved. The progress is only autosaved at the beginning of the mission and at the end when you finish the mission. Your progress in the middle of the mission is not saved. It's not like XCOM where it autosaves every one of your turn. This game doesn't save every one of your character's turn. I think the reason for that is because you will end up taking many turns, so there will be too many autosaves. It just becomes not practical. Because XCOM, all your characters take turns and then enemies take turns, so there can't be that many turns, but here every character is taking turns. So if you have like 20 enemies, you have to autosave 20 times each time they take turns. So it will become ridiculous how many autosaves that they have. I think that's the reason why they don't autosave in the middle of the mission. So because they don't autosave your moves in the middle of the mission, it is possible to quit to the main menu and then reload the mission. And if you reload the mission, then you're able to basically replay the mission without too much problems. Basically without any penalties. So if you make a mistake, you can reset if you want to do that. Now we are not going to do that in this playthrough, obviously, because I think that's sort of against what the game is trying to do, which is basically whatever decision that you make is a final decision that you're going to make. Okay, I just say we're not going to do that. Now our first character is our shield bearer. We can move, and depends how much we move. So if we move 1 tile, it costs us 7 AP. If we move further away, it costs us 50 AP. If we move really far, it costs us 93 AP. See, if you move to here, it's going to push my character all the way down the timeline. Okay? Here, it's going to push me to the 50 mark, and above that, it's going to push me all the way down the timeline. Now, there is no difference between using 60 AP and using 100 AP. So, even if I go to use 57 AP here, as opposed to use 99 AP, it's going to be the same. I'm talking about my position on the timeline. It's going to be the same. There won't be a huge difference. So, where do I move? Well, it depends on the position of the enemies. So, I'm going to move my character here. This way I can engage these enemies. Before I do that, I can have a look at my skills. So, I have different skills. I have lunge, which deals up to 205 damage 3 times. Or slam, which deals up 183 damage and delay target by 25 initiative units. Forces the target to face the daughter. So lunge means I hit 3 times. Slam means I will just hit once. But I will be able to delay enemies on the timeline. So these are 2 different skills. I will demonstrate them later. So lunge does more damage, but slam allows you to delay the enemy. There are also some hidden factors. Slam means slam is attack that cannot miss, so dodge is irrelevant. So that's another thing about dodge. A lot of attacks can't be dodged. Reactionary attack, boss attacks, and interruption attacks. So attack cancellation or attack interruptions, you can't really dodge them. Dodge has no effect. So they are guaranteed damage attacks, and slam is one of them. Lunge is not. A slam also forces enemies to face your daughter, so you can change the direction and position of your enemy. I'm just going to end her turn. So we have Clemens here. Clemens has a regular shot. Clemens is a soul slinger, so she's a range character. So she can shoot very far. She also has interception round. The shot does very little damage, but it can be done at range. And it's 86 damage 3 times. It also forces the target to lock in her direction. Now, after a target gets hit by melee attack, they will always face towards the melee attack. If the target gets hit by a range attack, they will, especially the regular shot, it will force your character to face towards them. So you can change the direction of the enemy where they're facing by using different attacks. If an enemy is already engaged in melee with another daughter, they will always face towards that daughter, unless another daughter uses a skill such as slam. Then the enemy will face the daughter using slam. However, if I hit the enemy with a regular shot from the soul slinger, the enemy will not face towards the soul slinger. Just remember that. Interception round. Intercept the first attack on an ally. has a range of 10 and deals up to 269 damage 2 times. Now some of these damage stats are a bit random. They will change a little bit every time you start the game, and every time you germinate a new daughter, there's a variation in their stat. It's like a randomness. So you notice interception round will intercept anywhere within the red range. So there are a couple of important things. The enemy attacking your ally must be inside this red range. If they're outside of it, attacking your ally, interception round will not work. Interception round also intercepts the first attack, so it will only work once. And it only works on ally, it does not work on self. So if the enemy attacks our soul slinger, it will not work. However, you could have 2 soul slingers next to each other and use interception round on both of them, so they can intercept attack from each other. So it is possible to intercept multiple attacks, so you can set up paired interception or interruption. Okay, so intercepting round also has another thing, is that you see how there's no red boxes here, and interception round doesn't work here because of this obstacle. So this obstacle acts as a cover, but it's not cover like XCOM where it reduces your chance of getting hit. This cover blocks line of sight, so this daughter is unable to see here because of this obstacle. She's unable to see here, therefore interception rounds will not work. So if Rebecca gets hit by an enemy that's positioned here, or anywhere outside of the red box, interception round will not work. It also costs 10% HP, so you can't spam it all the time, because eventually you run out of health. Remembering, healing is only possible if you sacrifice another daughter. Now, as your daughter level up, they will get a little bit of extra HP, but so it's not like you use all your HP and then you die. So as they level up, they will get extra HP, but they won't get all the HP that they've lost. So they will just get a certain amount of HP increase on their max HP. So you don't get a full heal as you level up. You only get extra HP that if you gain that extra HP when you level up. For example, if you my health is 475. If I level up, I get 600 health. But if I take damage now and my health becomes 275, as I level up, I won't go to 600 health. My max health will be 600, but the current health I have will be 275 plus 125. It will be 400. So the health that I lost will still be deducted from the max HP. Hopefully that makes sense. Alright, let's move our daughters here so we can engage these 2 enemies. So I'm going to move my Blade Master. So my Blade Master, you can see, does a lot more damage. So she does Slash, which does 677 damage in one attack, and Imbue Blade, which does 837 damage. Notice it costs less AP, and also it only works after 30 initiative units of delay and ends your turn. So Blade Master does a lot of damage. So you notice the Shield Bearer does 205 damage 3 times, and you might be wondering, that's similar to one attack that does about 600 damage, and you will be correct against an enemy that has 0 armor. However, if the enemy has armor, each of 205 damage will be deducted from the armor will be deducted from each 205 damage. So the armor will be deducted 3 times. So against a unit that has high amount of armor, it's better to use a skill that does a lot of damage and just hit once, rather than many little hits, which end up doing no damage at all. Alright, so I'm going to rush my Blade Master here. I know I'm going to burst, but I'm going to use Imbue Blade to take down this unit first. Now, on the first turn of any enemy units, they are only able to attack or move. They cannot move and attack together. So because it's these units' first turn, they will only able to move or attack. They cannot move and attack at the same time. You also notice they've moved up into my range, and the reason they move up into my range is because they are targeting Bella. These enemies will, or cursed therapists, they always will target a daughter that's the furthest down the timeline. So they will target daughter that's the furthest down the timeline, and that will be Bella because I went into burst. So I'm going to use Rebecca to take care of this enemy. So I can use lunge or I can use slam. So lunge will kill it because it would do 205 damage 3 times. So I'm going to show you guys slam. So if I use slam, he's pushed right off the timeline. If I use slam again, I will go into burst. So I'm not going to do that because I will be able to take turns before my enemy does. So I'm going to take the regular shot 3 times. Because these guys have no armor and don't dodge, are guaranteed hit and also guaranteed to do damage. Notice how this guy I can't target with my regular shot. Right, I can't target with my regular shot. There's nothing I can do. Only this target. The reason I can't target this guy is because line of sight problem. I can't shoot around corners. This obstacle is providing barrier or cover for this enemy. So cover doesn't work in this game like XCOM, but cover works to block line of sight. So you can stop certain range attacks from hitting you by going to their blind spot or breaking line of sight. So every time you defeat an enemy,
to plague the innocent.
Every time you defeat an enemy, the mother will say something. You may also get a memory. Memories are power-ups of a skill, so you can make skills more powerful. Another thing that you will get is some experience. I can also zoom in with my character, with my camera to see the character in more detail. You know, or I can zoom out. I can also press L3 to move to the character that I'm that's taking turns now. I can also change characters by pressing R1 and L1. The only thing is I don't know how to rotate the map. I just don't know how to rotate the map. That's the only thing I don't know how to do. I'm not sure if there's a way to rotate the map. So anyway, I want to end my turn because I don't want to go into burst. So now we look at lunge.
Exquisite.
Notice lunge does 3 hits, but it doesn't delay the enemy. Now, you notice there's an enemy there. I just want to show you guys something. This enemy can only move or attack. So if I'm adjacent to this enemy while this enemy is spawning, if I'm adjacent to it, it will attack me. However, if I'm not adjacent to it, even I'm 1 tile away, it is only able to move. So this enemy can only move or attack. It cannot do both. Okay. Alright, so now I've engaged in melee against this enemy. Notice how this enemy is turning towards me, okay? So I'm unable to go to his back. I cannot go to his back because his back is blocked. But I can go to his side or his flank. And if I use slam, I will do a flank damage. So when you do a flank hit, armor still works, but your damage is increased by 125%. So if I use slam now, you will notice that I do a bit of extra damage. And also you notice that this enemy has turned towards me. See, it's actually turned towards me, right? Which is very interesting because it is currently engaged in melee with Bella. But because of slam, it forces this enemy to turn towards me. Hold on. There we go. That makes better. So then I'm going to end my turn. Slam also pushed him back on the timeline. Now, if I shoot it, notice how it's not going to turn towards me. And I can actually reposition my Soul Slinger to shoot at its flank. But shooting at its flank will not turn him towards me, regardless what I do. So slam appears to dictate. Again, I'm using a flank hit. And the enemy is defeated. So you always want to flank or backstab your enemy. So flanking and backstab, not only you do more damage, they're also less likely to dodge your attack.
My brave daughter is spent. She must rest till a new day.
So once you use your daughters, you can't use them at the same day for another mission. So you can only use one daughter for one mission per day. However, there will be certain special events that may allow your daughters to do unlimited number of days.
Come what may, we will slow suffering's progress.
A recollection ends if you have no way to continue, if you get beaten by a boss, or if you choose to end it yourself. This will let you start a new try on the first day and give you access to more shards, resources that you gain from missions and can be used to buy remembrance or power-ups. You can only move to the next day after closing at least one synopsis. Okay, so now we have to rest our daughter and proceed to the next day. That's the only thing we can do. Okay, you notice something at the bottom. One of your daughter can learn a new skill. You notice at the bottom there is a timeline, right? But you notice there's an icon with a small skull and an icon with an exclamation mark and an icon with a big skull. Icon with a big skull means a boss battle that you can't delay it any further. Icon with a small skull means you're able to fight the boss during that time, but you don't need to fight it at that moment, but you have access to the boss. An icon with the exclamation mark means that it's a special event. An event could be positive or negative, or it may have both positive and negative effects. So it may affect your enemy and it may affect you as well. Okay, learn a new skill. Enter the inner void. Alright, so with Bella, skills can be unlocked by reaching new levels of mastery and upgraded with memories. The daughter has learned a new skill. Traits reflecting she has experience. She can also have traits. Traits cannot be removed or changed, even in death. Okay, so traits is something interesting. So Bella has gained aggression, plus 50 damage from her first step. She has led the fight against evil. And Daredevil, gain a stack of this effect for each adjacent enemy, plus 20%. She turns danger and risk-taking into bloody butchery. So traits are random, and it sort of depends on your performance in the game. So traits, sometimes you can get positive traits, sometimes you can get negative traits. Sometimes you may get positive and negative traits together. So this depends on your performance in the game. So that's her stat. And she has a new skill. So the two skills I can pick, Lightning Strike, which is a teleporting skill that can move and hit enemies at the same time. So dash up 5 tiles to deal 397 damage, has a range of 5. Lightning Strike is a guaranteed hit. It cannot be dodged. It also can't be countered with melee interruption skills unless you use lightning strike at melee range. So this is a very strong attack. But there's also immovable stance. Immovable stance is a reactionary skill where you react to enemies' finishing movement. So when enemies move into your melee range, you get to attack them first. Sometimes this allows you to defeat enemies before they attack you, but I don't think this stops enemies from attacking you. You can use immovable stance to trigger certain combos. It is very powerful, but it costs 5% HP. I'm going to pick Lightning Strike because it's more useful. I like the fact I can teleport around and hit enemies. I just find it more versatile. Now, there's also Clemens, who is a Soul Slinger. You get Shadow Rounds or Wrathful Rain. Shadow Rounds is a reactionary skill. It has a range of 7. Basically, any enemies that's taking damage from an ally, Shadow Rounds will activate. So it is a way to create very powerful combos. Shadow Rounds work really well with area of effect attacks, but it also works really well against bosses because you can keep stacking up the damage. I prefer Shadow Rounds over Wrathful Rain. Wrathful Rain is interesting because it's an area of effect attack at melee range, but you also can use to relocate. So you can reposition yourself and hit an enemy. So it's almost like a hit and run skill. But I don't like it because I don't find it very useful. It's hard to set up. We are gonna pick Shadow Rounds. Our shield bearer has 2 skills. The Blacksmith's Grace, which gives super armor or 180 armor for 40 initiatives units. But what's so great about it is every time you get hit, it pushes your character up 15 initiative units on the timeline. So every time you take damage, you basically get moved up the timeline. So this is really useful and it helps with timeline management, but it does cost HP. You notice the really powerful skills or interception skills all cost HP. It's because you have to balance using strong skills and sacrificing HP. So some weaker skills or skills that are less useful generally don't cost HP and they only cost action points. Shield Bash is cool because it allows you to knock enemies away, and enemies get pushed into each other can take additional damage. Shield Bash can also have some interesting effects when you push enemies. So you could push certain enemies out of way so their delayed attacks get cancelled. But I still prefer Blacksmith's Grace because it helps with tanking. Like, it's just easier to tank with Blacksmith's Grace. Because 180 armor will make a difference even until the end game. However, 180 armor after the 3rd week, it becomes less useful. It still makes a difference. Even in the 4th and the 5th week, but less so. Okay, so only our Blade Master got some traits. Yeah. Okay. Memories are obtained when killing certain enemies. They are upgrades you can assign to the daughter's skill, adding various effects, anything from increasing damage or defense to impact the timeline. Additionally, every memory unlocks a new part of the codex. Okay, so let's have a look what memories we got. We have increased the damage of a skill by 50 or decreased the enemy armor by 40. Both are very useful. So let's put increased damage by 50 here. And Lightning Strike, I like to use this to decrease enemy armor. Decreasing enemy armor is very important. And I'm going to spoil for you here for the 3rd boss. Now I'm also going to germinate more daughters. Also, you notice how my Vitae has went down? Every time you equip a memory, you consume Vitae.
Give life to our daughters.
We're gonna call you Chris.
Please, guide her well.
Chris is gonna be a Blade Master. Okay, so there is a codex.
Now, unleash her on any who stand in her way.
Codex basically has certain laws or stories of the game. We have memories as well. Recalling memories by slaying enemies will unlock a chapter of the mother's history. You notice the picture is not very clear. There's blurry parts to it. And as you go down, the picture will change. See, again, there are blurry parts to the picture. Once you collect more memories, the pictures will become more clear, I think. So you will see more pictures. We will have a look at this at the end of the game, because it's weird reading through different chapters, because the chapters are missing, and the memories that you get are random. So sometimes you get certain memories, and the memories also unlock random chapters. So I haven't read through the whole section as well. It's better to do this at the end of the game when you have more memories. Events are certain things that happen during your run, and they are random as well. So that's another random aspects of the game. So sometimes you get certain events, sometimes you don't. So the characters are basically the lore. So I will go through the characters at the beginning of every week, and also towards the middle or end of every week. So I'll let you guys read through this. I might read through parts of it, but you guys can pause the screen and read it. So I will just stay on each screen for a couple of seconds. So this is a mother that you get in the beginning of the game, that you're using in the beginning of the game. The Blade Master is a powerful, agile sword fighter. She is quick and deadly, but also more fragile than her sisters. Discipline is your sword. Never back off, and slay the enemies until your blade grows rusty with his blood. The veil must be protected by any means necessary. The Mother. The shield bearer has more defense than her sisters, and is capable of controlling most enemies with her shield. Protect your companions. Consider their lives above yours. Each scar is a new model. Your shield protects the body. Your body protects the soul. The Mother. You notice how they all have yellow eyes. So that means they are daughter of the Mother, obviously. Soul Slinger. The Soul Slinger can attack at any range. Can attack at range, and has skills that help her sisters. Remember this. Nothing counts as much as blood. May each bullet be sanctified with the blood of your enemies, and if you can, aim between the eyes. The Mother. So these are some of the enemies. Reading through this will tell you not only about the laws of the enemies, but also about how they behave. See, the Plague Doctor will attack enemies with attack you with less, whichever units which has the least amount of HP. You also notice after reading about these units that they are created by the child. It appears, because it says here, I have now remodeled them in my own way, and they obey me like broken puppets. So scavengers are actually quite dangerous. They may appear weak and easy to kill, but they're actually very strong, because they will concentrate their attack on one daughter. And although they do very little damage in their attacks, each damage they do, like, because they hit you many times and all of them hit you together, they can do a lot of damage. So they're actually quite dangerous. Remembrance give you access to bonuses that last through the whole recollection. A remembrance remain unlocked once it is unlocked, even if you start a new recollection. Unlocking a remembrance doesn't activate it automatically. You must use shards to activate it. You earn shards every time you complete a mission, but your pool of shards is limited to those you had on the start of the recollection. Once you start a new recollection, you get access to all your earned shards. Okay? So we can activate this, but we are not going to. So you can activate as you go along. It also gives you some idea of the lore as well. You can read through it. We won't be using any remembrance in our run because that is one condition of the run, that I will not be using any remembrance, and we will be we'll be always starting from the first recollection. But we might check it every now and then. So cemetery, when your daughter dies, she ends in the cemetery. You can resurrect the daughter by using resurrection tokens. Any memories the daughter has equipped are lost on death. Resurrection tokens are awarded when successfully completing rescue missions, or unlocking certain remembrance.
Give life to our daughters.
Birthing pool is where you create daughters. You need 200 V-type, which we don't have. Okay, so we have 2 synopses, so 2 missions. So the difficulty of the mission goes from challenging, which is the easiest, hard, which is middle, and impossible, which is the most difficult. So we have 2 missions. This is in the Lost Alley, and this is in the Plague Cemetery. We will do the Plague Cemetery because it's a more difficult mission, and I'm going to bring my stronger units. It's a claustrophobic map, and there are enemies here: Cursed Therapist, Scavengers, and Plague Guard. So the threats doesn't tell you how many, just tells you what kind of threats are there.
Careful. You wouldn't want my scalpel to slip into innocent flesh.
Okay, so he says, one of your daughter has an aura around her. Aura cover each tile adjacent to your daughter.
It was a tragedy. What came next? An abomination.
Aura cover each tile adjacent to your daughter and provides a specific bonus or negative effects on enemies, depending on the units inside it. Every aura has a different effect and condition. An aura's effect ends immediately if the conditions are no longer met or if the daughter dies. You now have access to more skills, allow you to create combos. Okay, so you notice how I have my daughters here? So this is a plague cemetery, and you can see statues of the plague doctors as well, which they have the witch doctor hats. Massive statues. Sometimes you can see the child in some areas of the map. We're just gonna have a quick look. So the Plague Cemetery is a very, very interesting map. So it is possible for your daughters to be spawned very far from each other. Also, it is possible for your daughters to be spawned close to each other. It's a very difficult mission. It depends on the spawning location of your daughter. The Plague Cemetery is a map you want to avoid later on in the game because of this reason. Sometimes you can get spawned in very serious positions or very bad positions. So Rebecca's here alone by herself, and because she's a shield bearer, that is, she has Blacksmith's Grace, I'm not exactly worried about her, but she is facing a couple of enemies. So I'm going to move her here. I'm just going to move everyone close to the center. This way, they can support each other. Remember, there is strength in numbers. You also notice there are certain, they're not choke point, but gaps in the map, so you can't traverse them. You also have to go around them. Later on, you get skills that you can traverse them, so just be aware. You can also see there are 6 enemies. Notice the Plague Guard went for my shield bearer because in the codex it specifically says that they will attack the unit that has the most amount of health point. So I'm happy to engage this guy because I'm able to use slam to delay them. Now I'm worried about the scavengers, but the scavengers are not going to be able to hurt my shield bearer. Okay, so these guys do 420 damage and they have reinforced armor, so they are able to hurt me if they hit me. These guys, Curve Therapists, they do 150 damage with their snapshot, but their massive shot is what really hurts. The scavengers, however, they only do 90 damage for 2 times. So they're not very strong and they don't have any special skills, but what makes scavengers dangerous is they attack the same target. They can all attack the same target, and also they have very high initiative units. Oh sorry, they have very high initiative. So they can move very quickly and quickly close their gap between you and your daughter. So just be careful. Okay, see, I've hit him on the flank, doing more damage. Okay, let's see if we can lightning strike anybody. But we can use a lightning strike here.
No mercy. Memories of another life.
Okay,
Guard
let's
them
use
well.
an imbued blade here to take care of this enemy. Alright, so I guess correct that this enemy, which is the scavengers,
Impressive.
are going to attack Bella. So I wanted them to do that because then I'll be able to intercept them using Rebecca. So I will just use a lunge to try to kill them. So it is possible to miss.
One less to plague the innocent.
So we'll just leave her there. So they're gonna lock on Bella, which is not a problem because I'll be able to easily escape from that. Alright,
No
that's a
mercy.
nice hit. So you can see there's only 2 enemies remaining. And all the enemies are on the map, so there will be no enemies spawning in. I'm going to move my shield bearer here to engage this enemy. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. So even though he does a lot of damage, there's nothing he can do really against me.
Flawless.
Because he takes turn very slowly. So Plague Guard doesn't take turns very quickly, so they take it takes them a long time to take turns, so I can take advantage of that and keep using Slam. Now you notice I'm doing 0 damage. It's because he has a ton of armor. So notice he has 235 armor, and my Slam only does 207 damage, so it's not gonna hurt him. So it's not gonna do much damage. And same as my Soul Slinger, it's not gonna do any damage against him. See, it's gonna do 0 damage because of how much armor he has. Okay, so now I'm going to go behind him to hit him with backstab. Alright, and you notice the lightning strike. Normally the lightning strike does 477 damage. So with a backstab, it has a damage bonus of 150%. So at 477 damage, it should do about 700 damage. But notice that with 235 armor, I'm only doing about 300 damage. So you notice how I said armor has almost a twofold effect? That's what I mean. Armor is almost like a twofold effect. This means having 200 armor, you're able to resist attacks around 350 to 400. So I'm going to use a regular slash, and notice that the slash does huge amounts of damage, right? It does 921 damage, but his armor is not doing anything because I have a damage bonus of 150% with a backstab. So I'm still doing a ton of damage. So against enemies with armor, it's better to have one attack that does a lot of damage. Alright, success.
We draw ever closer to fulfilling our purpose.
You notice the amount of XP they gain is different. That depends on the how many enemies that they kill. So if you want a unit to level up faster, you give a daughter more kills. So we're gonna germinate another
Give
daughter.
life to our daughters.
I'm gonna call you Jill.
Please, guide her well.
And you're going to be a soul slinger. Alright, so there's not much to do now, but I'm going to advance to the next day.
Unleash her on any who stand in her way.
You notice this mission? I probably can do this mission with 2 daughters, but I'm not going to do that. It's the Lost Alley mission. Now, any missions that you don't do, you will carry to the next day. So what does that mean? This means, for example, here. Notice I have now 3 synapses to close. I have a rescue mission, an impossible hunt mission, but I also have a hunt mission here. Remember the Lost Alley, right? So we will obviously do the rescue mission because that is the more difficult. And notice the rescue mission that's challenging and the hunt mission that's challenging. They have different bonuses. The rescue mission gives more bonus despite having the same difficulty rating. It's because rescue missions are difficult. Hunt missions are easier because you can run away from these missions. So you can actually flee missions or you can abandon your daughters. If you flee a hunt mission, you have relatively less penalty, so your daughters won't die. You just can't use them for the remainder of the day. But rescue missions, you can't really run away from them without losing your daughters. Anyway, that's I'll make a cut here. Thanks everyone for watching. I do appreciate the view, and I'll see you guys in the third part of this walkthrough. Bye.